If you think of each day as a new beginning, each week as a new beginning, how about moving into each month? Well, here we are again with our friend and in-house astrologer, Chiron Yeng, for another episode sharing about what's going on astrologically and energetically. Welcome, Chiron.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
It is such a pleasure, and we are looking forward to a new month ahead. How about you?
Yes, definitely looking forward for August. As we can already feel, July was a tough time, and August, as we begin, is gonna come in strong with something called Mercury retrograde. And I think that is something that everybody is familiar with. I think we already experienced a little bit of that energy in late July, but it's gonna come on stronger in August.
So first I'll say, I don't know what you're talking about with strange things going on in July. Hello. And one thing I want to mention too to all the listeners out there, which I am personally doing myself, is I have a pen and a paper because as Chiron and I we go through the different dates of the month, you might want to jot down because literally last month I had to go back and I listened to it to get the key date. So I'm like, okay. So if anyone out there wants to get a pen and paper, it's a real good idea. So you have some, if you write down some dates that we're going to be chatting about.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely, because this information goes deep, and when we can actually synchronize what the information here with your own direct experience in life of what is currently going on in your life, that will really anchor in a deeper sense of understanding of what's really going on.
Absolutely. Well, let's get on. Let's talk about what do you want us to share first what the energy of the month is?
The You guys
Or for
or for
us, yeah,
myself?
the overall energy.
I'll
Yeah.
Yeah,
give
go
you the
ahead. Go
word.
ahead.
Okay, go for it, Tom.
Well, the key word for the month of August is destination.
Hmm.
And some suggestions on that are home, target, benchmark, port, and liberty.
And it's
So,
it's interesting when I tuned into it this morning, I saw a hot air balloon and lifting off.
and
Hot air
what?
balloon.
A hot air balloon.
The theme of the year is free flowing. So then in August, it's destination. And to keep in mind that this is like a spiritual focus. So no matter what's going on around me, even though there's pressures of the universe that are influencing people, which influences events and provides us some learning experiences. The keys is if I'm aware. What this means to me is if I'm aware that this is the destination of where I want to take my energy. Where do I want to find myself? Because I'll never be able to control what's going on around me, but I can certainly influence it if I'm more centered, relaxed, and I'm more clear about what I'm getting out of it spiritually.
What does destination mean to you, Chiron?
It's so funny that this word came up, and because in the middle of the month of August, specifically August 14, that's when the activation starts to happen, all the way to August 20th, we have something called Mars and Jupiter conjunction in Gemini, right? So Gemini is about movement, it's about locomotion, it's about getting from one point to another point A to point B. And Mars represents our will, our energy, our fuel of like getting from one point to another. And Jupiter is our vision, is our GPS. It's like, where are we going and what are we creating? What is the bigger and larger purpose behind all of this? So it's so spot on to know that this is the keyword, and you said hot air balloon, because
That's
literally
the image I had.
Jupiter represents the sky and Mars represents that heat that gets us up there. So it's definitely an elevation and an upgrade in so many different ways. And I think what Tom said is really pertinent to this, because as you're aware of who you are and what you want in the world, then you know how to get out there and search for that very same thing that you're looking for. You might not have the capability, you might not have the knowledge, you might not have the information, but when you set an intention, okay, this is kind of like what I want, and when you anchor yourself in action, which is Mars, and towards the direction, which is Jupiter, Jupiter are like mentors, teachers, knowledge base that will give you insights. And Gemini rules study from cross cultural, cross geographical landscapes so that all the diverse information, when they come into our sphere of consciousness, we could shift it, reintegrate it, and really understand it in a new way, in a new picture. We are experiencing more air element this month of August, and it's easy to stuck in our heads about, oh, where are we going, overthinking, analysis paralysis, choice problems. Sometimes when you have so much choices, you feel more stuck than actually free. So it goes back to what Tom is saying. What is it that you really, really strive for? And can you be aware of what you're truly, wanting in life, and make your own choices based on that?
So what occurs to me is that the opposite of destination for me would be, boy, not knowing where I'm kind of floundering, not really knowing where I'm headed. And there'll be pressure to feel like that, in the environment. So, and, even if we talk about politically what's going to happen in the United States in terms of the convention for the Democratic Party, I know there'll be a good portion of the population wondering how's that going to affect their lives. There'll be a good portion that won't care at all, and there'll be a good portion that will think it'll be wonderful. But uh, so that would be the key, is to be aware that when it comes to what I've come to do spiritually, there's a place I'm headed. And if that's being a little more relaxed, if that's feeling more like I'm back in my niche, uh, those are those kinds of things to keep in mind.
Yeah, I feel that too. And I feel that, there's a wide opening aspect to this coming month, in the sense of, like you're saying, the destination and working with Mars and Jupiter. And this one, obviously where there's more things going on in this month, but the one time we're talking about right now. And how, for myself, when I'm able to stay more focused and also more balanced and centered and also cleansed energetically, that I can, knowing what I've come to do, what I need to be involved in, that's a key part for me. And that's part of my destination, because if I can stay, like you're saying, Chiron, anchoring in action, right? So, and moving forward, whatever's going on around me, which is what Tom is saying. I love this trio, like Tom and Chiron. What you both are really talking about is that it's really important to have our own understanding of, what I've come to do in this moment of time.
For
Yeah, and
sure.
for me, it's probably having my clear picture of where I'm headed.
Yeah, you see, this energy is so outward focused, and you guys brought a point of like we need to turn inward, because the shadow side of this energy is basically FOMO, fear of missing out. Oh my God, everybody seems like they're living the best life ever, but what you see on social media, on the news, does not represent the entire thing. Maybe people are still searching, right? And those who wonder are definitely not lost. You're lost if you don't wonder at all, right? And it's important to add this aspect, because while Mars and Jupiter is creating this conjunction, it is actually squaring the planet Saturn in Pisces, which brings in the confusion, which brings in the element where we can't really rely on our parents or our political leaders or our spiritual teachers who are meant to be there for us, because who knows, they might have their own agenda, and this energy might reveal that you might be controlled by something larger than you, because guess what, you have not owned your own sense of clarity. What is your own principles? What are your own values? And what kind of life do you want to live? And where do you want to invest your time, energy, attention, and money on? um, for sure, we need help and support, and communities, and the exchange of conversation can be great, but it's so easy to get lost on other people's opinion, comments, and judgments, and forget our own, because it's just inclined within us that we want to belong and connect, that we might risk some level of authenticity. But good news is that Sun is in Leo, and that's where we can feel like, oh, it anchors us back. Okay, what is living in our heart, what is living in our heart, what is living in our heart, until the energy shift basically at the end of August. August 22nd, 23rd, when the sun moves into Virgo. And on top of that, with Mercury retrograding, we will second guess ourselves and let that doubt be a part of your experience, because before every doubt eventually comes into a place of clarity and enlightenment.
Interesting, because as you're talking about that, the thing that comes to me is that this is such a pivotal time for everyone, especially United States, when we're all going through this political chaos, I'll say, in understanding, who you are and what you need to move forward with in the midst of what's going on the outside, like you're saying. And so I want to talk a little bit about the energy of this time frame before we move into the next thing. So you said August 14th through 20th.
Yeah, that's like the highlight of the month. I'll say, yeah.
Okay, you want to tell them what energies?
Okay, so on the 14th, we'll be right in the middle of regrouping energy, which is a consolidation time, gaining insights, and learning from your experiences. Then on the 16th, we move into orientation, which is getting the facts, knowing where you are, and feeling of newness. And we're in orientation all the way through the 20th. So around the 14th, 15th, I would imagine that I'll be going, oh, aha, that's what I've learned. Yes, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to modify how I'm thinking about things and becoming more aware. But I've got to consolidate that before moving forward. And then orientation can always kind of feel new when it's a new situation. So the solution is always just getting the facts, finding out, what I'm involved with, when, where, why, knowing where I am. And just like it sounds, really, for me is, orientation is getting oriented to my situation.
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting to see how the energies of the calendars we work with are going to be feeling and felt with the energy of Mars and Jupiter for this
And I'll
time.
add something to that,
Okay.
because specifically on August 14 and 15, and this is a shorter transit, Mercury moves back from 0 degrees Virgo to 29 degrees Leo. And while that is happening, Mercury is basically creating a quincunx, which is a 150-degree relationship with Pluto. So some secrets might be revealed during this time. Something that you might have been swept under the rug might surface during this time. It's definitely an emotional time, because what's really happening is that our thinking can be very challenged. Maybe we have a certain plan, maybe we have certain things and information that says this is the right thing, and when this energy comes in, it's like maybe not.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe you don't have the resources that you want to do to carry out your plan. Maybe you need to backtrack, as delays, detour, challenges, I believe, when universe gives us all of this experience, is to show us where our blind spots are, number one, and what are other lessons that we have not understood before we can truly move forward. So definitely that, August 14 and 15, even though it says regrouping, it's a lot of things going on internally. So it's really regrouping all those things before you could really, really step forward and move forward with what Mars and Jupiter is supposed to be.
Yeah, there's actually like 5 days of that, from the Sunday all the way through the Thursday, the Sunday
That's
the
interesting.
11th all the way through the Thursday the 15th. But the picture that I get is just going, oh, okay, I assumed this. I've been working on that because of my assumptions, and I'm beginning to go, all right, that's not quite what I need to be doing, or, oh, I'm becoming more aware of how I short circuit myself with my thinking, or I'm making harder on myself because I'm buying into my fears instead of, just going, oh, okay, I have to readjust my direction based on this new situation, and then get oriented into, moving forward again towards my destination.
Yeah, and what comes to me about regrouping energy too during this time is that sometimes when we're going through regrouping energy, it seems like it's a little bit slower, in the sense of it gives me more time to reflect And here was the thing with Mercury in retrograde, right? Like that's the reflection, and that's the looking at things in a different perspective, but really putting what am I putting together for myself? So that's one thing that's really interesting about this week, that specific week in August.
For sure. And one thing that can come up during that time is health issues, right? Chronic problems that have gone away might come back to just show you where, you know, you need to realign. I believe that symptoms in our life, not just in our bodies, but in our relationships, in our work, in our routines, is where realignment can happen. So I think besides, you know, destination as such a good powerful keyword, I think what's coming up for me as my own definition that I'm having is really realignment. Because the thing in nature, when you're aligned, you flow. When you flow, you go really fast. Right? Rather than perpetual efforting, right? Trying, doing, and not having that clarity. It's like banging your head against a wall, thinking one day it's gonna break, but it's never.
I
So I
like
think
that
this is what this
realignment.
energy is all about.
Yeah, for me, that realignment sums it up. You know, that it's like I can, as I'm looking at these calendars and projecting and hearing the influences, astrological influences, I go, oh, so if I look upon it from that perspective, just remind myself, I'm just realigning. I need to regroup. I need to reorient. I need to get oriented again, and then move forward. It's all a part of the process of going towards my destination.
Yep. And just because it's not happening yet doesn't mean it's not working. I think most of us give up before we actually, when we're so close and we're gonna get there, you know. So I think this is a time where we can be a little bit more patient and not to be so, you know, wavering with other people's opinion, thoughts, and comments, and still stick to our path and see it through. And eventually, that realignment with micro adjustments will eventually get to where we want to go.
It's also interesting because in the beginning of August, we move into direction on the 1st, which is focus on where you're going, time to sense ahead. And then on the 6th, we move into ambition, wants and inner desires, feeling of commitment, doing more, future inspirations. And direction and ambition energy is really like action's got the most sort of influence on us, or that wave of energy to work with. But direction and ambition are right up there. Direction comes next, then ambition. So it looks like we've got 10 days of like really moving towards our goals there, or there's that opportunity towards it. But what's interesting is we come into regrouping, realign, reorient, and then we start to move out of August uh, in some different energy, like friendship, direction, again, friendship and family. So I guess what I'm noticing is that it'll be full on the first 10 days of August. Like I could see myself, how this applies to me is I could see myself like really, moving forward, doing stuff, thinking I've got a clear plan and working it. But it's important that I work it no matter what, because I don't find out if I have to adjust if I don't get into action. That's what I hear you saying.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There will be no feedback without action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like Tom's mentioned, the first 10 days with the direction and ambition energy, and then it kind of slows and lets you kind of reflect upon, okay, so what's been going on, and like you're saying too, Chiron, like, and what realities are being exposed at this time that I need to work with inside of myself, because it's maybe not the reality that I'm really wishing for or needing in your life, right? I mean, because that's the thing with the outer and the inner, is like what goes on out there, whatever it is, a lot of times I have no control over that anyway. So all I can really work on is myself, staying in alignment, staying grounded as those out there, play in the energies of what's going on in the bigger picture.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing that is coming up for me is that there's a lot of solo energy going on. You know, Sun in Leo and all the bunch of planets in Virgo. It's like getting towards the detail, improve yourself, upskilling, and those kind of things. You can be so focused on yourself and what you're lacking. And sometimes I think we lose perspective that we can ask for help and support from our immediate friendships and family, or anybody for that matter. But it comes with discernment again, because if we let the wrong people in, the energies that we don't want, it becomes a liability. It holds us back, and then we got to have that difficult conversation that we try to avoid, and then we prolong it, and then that whole relationship starts to become a little bit, toxic or heavy and stuff. So it's important, right? I think it's a great opportunity when Mars is in Gemini. We want to social, we want to connect. And what can happen with Mars Jupiter is that we go out there and we go too much too soon, and we connect with everybody, and then we have not enough energy left in the tank within ourselves, and then we don't have that discernment. When we're tired, we don't have that discernment to know that what energy should be let in and what energy should be let out. So I rather start my month with really understanding with what I have in the moment and who I need to connect to and what I need to do, and just picking one or two things that we want to focus on rather than trying to do too much too soon, right? Because we can get lost by the environmental energy where Mars and Jupiter is like, oh my God, everybody's rushing, everybody's like getting something, everybody's doing. Am I missing out? Right? So we don't have to play the pace of other people. We can play a different rhythm. So it is definitely a win, and such a powerful thing for you to be tuning in and listen to this right now, because now you don't have to be swept away by things, and you can follow the rhythm of life. And it's interesting that Tom said towards the end of the month, right? There's more opportunity for friendship and belonging and family and connection. I think this is a month where we can reconnect, or with old friends and old souls, from our past life or in this present life. But what also can happen is meeting people with like-minded, passion, like-hearted values, where who knows, you might create even a collaboration like this and take it even further.
Awesome. So besides the Mars and Jupiter, are there any other really big transits that you want to address for this month? Besides moving to Virgo, that's a big one, right?
So Mars Jupiter square Saturn in the middle of the month, Mercury retrograde pretty much the entire month, and towards the end of the month, August 28, 29, there we have a Venus opposing Neptune, which is really about reconciliation and remembrance that we are all one and we are all mirrors of one another. And because it's in the sign of Virgo Pisces, it's definitely connected to our work, right? And our health. And what this means is that there's this calling of like, how can you continue to bridge between spirit and matter? What's ideal and what needs to happen in reality and what's practical. So that's towards the end of the month. I think with Mercury getting out of the retrograde after August 28th, right?
That's long, yeah.
Yeah. And there will be a new sense of clarity again, and the clarity will come into a place of like, in the focus of like, spirit and matter, right? Is our values aligned? Is my plans feasible with the things and the resources that I have right now? So the topic of money will definitely come up again, and then the topic of like, where am I going to get my next client or my next job, and this kind of stuff is going to bring out questions again. Other than that, if you're stuck in a job for too long, this is a time where you feel like you want to leave.
And you said that's the 28th and 29th, is that correct?
28, 29, yeah.
So that will be in friendship energy. And friendship energies, you have a feeling of sense of belonging, feeling of appreciation, and you are also, there's like helping others through action. And whenever friendship energy is around, for myself, there's a light. It feels lighter, and like people are more social, and to me they interact more. So it's quite different. What do you think about that, Tom?
Yeah, I find that I can still accomplish a lot, but it's there's an ease to it. It's a great time to, if I'm working with somebody, just feel like I'm friends with them, or that they getting to know them a little bit better. And then family, of course, is that feeling of kinship, people united, common goals, mankind. That's the 30th and 31st. But It's wild the way you described what's going on astrologically, because what you just shared is very similar to friendship and family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why we do this. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
It's wild to see the alignment because I did not look at the calendar that you guys have in advance, and I did not plan this. I just basically took out those major transits that I see astrologically and bring it to the table, and it's nice to see that we have two different sources, you know, sharing something very similar.
Mhm.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I think that's the beauty of this, is showing that, what's going on in the cosmos and what you put together as far as your knowledge within that. And then what this calendar can share, and the knowledge within that. It's like it all just comes together beautifully. So it can be such a support.
Yeah, it really strikes me that those are the solutions are found within that energy, because that spirit's giving us extra backing, for example, in the beginning of the month, to really focus on where we're going, and a time to sense ahead. It's and then when we get to the 11th, where we're regrouping, well, consolidation time, gaining insights. So after 10 days of kind of going for it and thinking about what you want, and working towards your ambitions, all of a sudden you get to regroup again. So it's to me, there's solutions here. There's solutions to um, the influences. But if I'm uh, I can either sort of like float through life and kind of get battered by the you might say the rapids, if you're canoeing or rafting or kayaking or something, or I can move more steady with more of a clear direction, and navigate the waters. But I'm always going to be, if I'm exploring new ground spiritually within myself, I'm always going, which is, there's fulfillment there, in that exploration. But I'm going to come up against new, say, reefs and new places that I have to navigate around. So the main thing is that we're all involved in life, and relaxing a little bit to say, hey, there's some hope here, and let me focus on those keys, during those times.
Yeah, Chiron, do you want to give a final word on, the month and the destination energy?
I want to talk about the new and full moon, just to give you guys the
Oh, yeah,
dates,
yeah. Oh, before we
right?
end, please do. Those are
Um,
important too.
New moon in Leo in August 4th, and the full moon in August 19th, which is Aquarius Leo. It's beautiful that during the full moon, Sun and Mercury comes together in a Kazimi. It's a conjunction,
Mhm.
right? And they're back to back, and basically, I think again it reiterates what Tom has just mentioned about that spirit is guiding us with those energy, where Leo new moon is this ambitious new energy that you want to get going,
Hmm.
right? You might feel that inspiration, that sense of courage, that warmth of passion, and you remember that, okay, this is what I'm about. Let's show up, And but as we know, life is not a sprint. It's more of a marathon of doing the mundane, right? I recently saw a quote which is really beautiful, that when you really appreciate the mundane and the ordinary, that's when the miracles of life and magic starts to show, right? It's this is exactly the energy, of course, at the end of the month, with Venus opposing Neptune, which is spirit, which is miracles and magic, and Venus, which is the mundane. When they come together, we get beauty, we get grace, we get this feeling of like, wow, really supported. But only if we let go during the time that we need to let go, and assert ourselves during the time when we need to assert, meaning living in a rhythm that is cohesive with the universe. And this is what we call synchronicity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think destination can have a lot of meaning, right? One is that perhaps it's literal, right? You get your goals, and your manifestation that you've been waiting for might even happen this month, right? On another way, you might feel really out of alignment. You don't know what you're looking for. You feel confused in life. Maybe this is a time where you're going to get clarity, right? But the thing is that it's not given. We got to work with this energy, and And the more we lean in and the more we take those risks, be it pausing or taking action or stopping to be discerning or reaching out to connect or being independent and being on our own, that is all discernment. We can't just give people like blunt advices or blanket statement about this is what you should do. We're all different, and the way, even though it's the same type of energy, but the way we experience it is so different. So in the end of the day, we can only provide guidance, and in the end of the day, it's like, can you come back to your body, in your being, in your heart, in your guidance with your spirit and the guides around you, seen and unseen, to move through this energy with discernment. And then I think when we can do that, the first obvious sign for me is this sense of inner peace and bliss no matter what's going on the outside.
Sounds great.
Well said. Absolutely.
And that's the destination, to come back home to spirit, to come back home to the truth of who you are.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's what I hear you saying is that it's important that, spirit can do their 50% and give us an idea. You can do your 50% by letting us know what astrological influences are there, but it's up to the individual to say, okay, now how does that work for me? And only by being more aware, like by being more aware of what's happening or how I think of things and the thoughts I have, say in direction energy or in regrouping energy, the thoughts I have. It's not to say that things aren't going to get accomplished in regrouping energy. It's just important that I really reflect enough to adjust, because if I don't, I'm going to have to go through it all again.
Yeah, and I guess what comes to me about the destination is that it's obviously individual. It obviously also matters upon where each person's at in their journey and just, flowing with it. So what I really hear from the whole month and all that we've shared in this episode is that, there's aspects of the light and the dark. And so whichever comes towards my journey through this destination time, or I should say time into my destination, is how I embrace it, is just my own personal journey. So, and I think that's an exciting thing about it, because, there's lots of opportunity to learn and grow. And there's lots of opportunity to go, yeah, this is exactly what I've been waiting for, or I'm moving into this new area and I'm so excited. So it's really that balance between the two for myself.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing from you, Teresa, is that instead of moving away from something to get to what you want, it's moving towards to something. And that discernment and the distinction between the both of them is the difference. I think to really describe it and to make it in a simple way to understand what this means is that, it's not freedom from pain. It's not freedom from stress, but it's freedom towards your desire. It's freedom towards what's living in your heart. It's freedom towards, what people in your life and your loved ones wants with you and from you. And to be an active participant, to actually create that, rather than being in the fixing mode and trying to get rid of certain things. So I truly believe that when we can focus on where we want to go, we actually create more of it, because energy flows where attention goes.
Well said. And I think that's a good place to stop. Or you feel complete there, Tom? All
feels
right.
Good. Like that's the destination.
That's our destination this month, everyone. So if you are interested out there, listeners, to understand more about your birth chart and what you've got going on, you can definitely connect with Chiron, and we'll have all his information in the show notes. If you're interested in some of the calendar aspects also, we can have that in the show notes. You can take a look at that for yourself, because the new spiritual year starts September 1st.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so, I also want to say too, that I'm excited that you don't look at the calendar before we have these sessions. So you don't know what's coming. It's like, it's a beautiful time to come together like that, for sure.
Definitely. I truly enjoy my time with the both of you right here, right now.
It's very special, and we're both honored, right, honey?
Yep.
Yep.
Such an honor.
Such an honor. So thank you all out there around the world listening into this episode and future episodes. And please remember that the first episode of each month will be this one with Chiron Yeng, and a great way to start out that new energy and moving this month into the destination of your dreams. And until next month, just remember that life is too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique
journey.
To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.